up, YouTube? Teddy Westside here for another video. Hope you guys are having a good day because I'm super excited for what we're going to do today. As you can probably tell from today's video, we're going to finally put a new intake on the car. I know there is a lot of opinions out there as far as to do you need to replace the stock intake? Is it really going to give you bang for your buck? Things like that. I don't really understand why people think that the stock intake is as good as people say it is. I haven't done any flow tests. I don't really care to do anything like that. I'm not a scientist, but from what I do know and from seeing how the stock intake works is you're literally getting air from like a hole this big, and I don't really see how people think like getting that much air is really better than any other intake, you know, aftermarket, because all the holes are like way bigger where it's getting air from. So I would have to think that any aftermarket intake that you're doing is going to be better than the stock intake, because again, I think it's going to get more air just because of natural looks. I will try to remember to show you guys kind of what I'm talking about. Again, I may be wrong. I've never taken the stock intake apart, but from just looking at it, I can't really see how a whole lot of air is getting into it with just the stock intake. Yeah, I'm really excited. If I didn't mention already, we are going to put on a Cobb intake. There's three main reasons why I went with the Cobb intake. Number one is the price, because everything that you get with it, I think, is a better value than especially the APR, which I'll probably compare to most, because I feel that, especially the tuning realm, APR and Cobb are kind of the big two right now for the Mark 7 platform. I know there's Unitronic, and I think Eurodyne is another brand. But Cobb with the access port is something that's real prominent right now with the Mark 7s. And then, of course, APR. I'm APR Stage 2, but I did not go with the APR intake. Again, price is one reason. Another reason is I love the look of the Cobb intake, as you'll see when it's finished. But it actually comes with the front grille part, just like the stock one does, right on top. And then the air box, it's a closed system. It's not carbon fiber, which is probably my only complaint so far. I think carbon fiber would look a little bit cooler, but it is like a black anodized metal. Again, I'll show you guys when we start getting it and I open it up and everything. And then the third reason, which is like the biggest one for me, is I have yet to see a video on YouTube about it. I haven't seen anybody's review. I haven't heard like sound clips really. And I haven't seen anyone do an installation video. So that's why I went with the Cobb, because nobody else has it. I'm hoping to be the first, get this video out there before anyone else beats me to it. That'd be pretty crappy, because literally as of today filming this video, nobody has it. And I plan on getting the video out within 2 days of filming. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so that's about all I'm going to have for right now. We're going to get into the install, showing you guys what to do. And then, yeah, we're going to hear a before and after, and I'm really excited. I'm not expecting a whole lot. I definitely do not think an intake should be anyone's first buy, especially if they're looking for power. I do not think you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck as far as power upgrades, but I wanted to get an intake because, again, I don't think this stock one's all that great, and I just want to complete the engine bay look. I mean, I don't like the stock intake. When you open your hood at a car show, or people say what's done to your car, it looks a lot cooler when you actually have, you know, an aftermarket intake, blow, right in the face for people. So, all right, I'm going to quit talking. Let's get an installation. All right, guys, so now we're going to get into the actual installation. And to install the new intake, obviously the first thing you need to do is take out the old intake. It's pretty easy. There's just two bolts up here for this part on the front. And then obviously you want to take off the hose clamp here with hose clamp pliers or channel locks, but that's a little bit more difficult. 7mm or a screwdriver to get the back hose clamp off. And then there's a two little freaking stupid pipes that you got to take out too. And then you just rip everything out. So I'm going to get cranking away, and I'll let you guys know anything that you need to know. But other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory. Millions of videos. The good stuff is coming up after this comes out, so let's get to it. So like You would think all of this space is like how your intake gets air, but the way that this thing works is it only gets air through this front part on the grill, which I don't think I broke. Pretty sure it just pulls out like that. Can anyone tell me where the hell your intake gets air from? Like, seriously, what the hell's Volkswagen doing to us? It's a myth. Where's the air come from? Oh, here, this is how it works. So it flows in one side and it has to get routed through a corner and go down like this into your intake. Like, there's no way anyone can tell me that the stock air box is good. Like, no, I don't believe it. Not for one bit. So that's why we're getting rid of it, going to a new one. Okay, so the next step is to actually put it on the car. So you're just going to, you know, fish it in somehow, bend the hoses out of your way. I'm just trying to be careful because I don't want to really scratch up the new material. But it's really not difficult. Everything fits in just the way it should. Okay, so I definitely lied to you. You do not use the stock bolts. You still use the same screws and nylon washers that they provide to you. That's why you always read directions, kids. But luckily for you, I'm filming this video, so you'll know what to do. You just follow what I did. Okay, so after you get the snorkel snout part, whatever you want to call it, into the car, which I do want to make a note, if you want to get it to these front ones, not the back ones, all you need to do is just make sure it sits. There's like a little lip in here that you can push it all the way up against the actual grill, and then you can make it to the front holes. It definitely looks a lot better because I had it in the back ones before and you could see a little bit gap. Now it's kind of all flush and clean. So after you get that in, the next part is what is probably my favorite feature of the Cobb, and that is what I don't understand why nobody else does. This is my secondary air filter. But and then also you want to plug this into this little hole. That's going to be for that one vacuum line that we took out, like that. Okay. And then we want to connect the little line, and then we want to connect the secondary air filter. Hear the click, you know you're good. And then just leave it like that for right now. Next step is you want to measure and then cut this trim that they give you, and you're going to place it into these two holes here. This is where your coolant hose will go. Should have used those in the first place. Okay, so that is that. And I believe the next step is to put it in the car. Alright, so I lied. The next step is to also use this trim for the hole that the intake is going to go in, or the pipe is going to go through, whatever you want to say. Oh, look at that. That was like perfect. Looks like something you get at a store. That was a struggle. That sucked. I'm not going to lie for one bit. That was not fun. It is going to be challenging to get this in and out if I need to do any modifications that are located under it, like a short throw shifter. Okay, so after you finally get the air box in, the next step is to get 4 of the bolts that are provided, and then connect the air box to the snorkel. And just like everything else so far in this installation process, it's a little bit tricky just to get stuff started. Again, I've got big ass hands. Everything's a challenge. But there are 2 here, and then 1 on each side, and then we will join you back if I ever get this done. We'll join you back after this. So after you finally get it all bolted in on the 4 screws on the side, The next step is to get the bracket for the velocity stack. And then if you could see, there's a screw hole back here, which is where it'll go, just like so. I feel like this video is getting long, so I'm going to bore you with the details and just join you in the next step. Okay, so after you get this bracket in, the next step that you need to do is you need to connect this to the bracket. As you can see behind me, or behind it, there's holes where these and the lock washer go through on the back. I'm hoping that I don't have to stick this all the way out, but I probably might have to, just to give me a little bit more room. But things are definitely tight, so I don't want to be tugging on stuff more than I already have been. But yeah, so we just need to get this in here. Then you hose clamp on this, on there. You connect it to the inlet pipe, tighten it down to this, and then you'll put your filter on top of this, which we'll show you next. Okay, so now after getting this attached to the bracket, which is a big pain in the butt, you want to connect the hose clamp, you want to connect this hose clamp, and then finally we're going to put the filter on, which just fits right over the big old thing that was a pain in the butthole to get on. And we're going to orientate our hose clamp in an area where it's easy for me to get to. All we have to do after this is put the lid on to make it a closed system, and then we are ready to hear what it sounds like. Always tug, make sure everything's squared away. Now what you want to do is you want to get your lid, nylon washers. You want to make sure, I'm sorry guys, lighting is horrible in here. You want to make sure you cut this trim piece. It's because it's so it protects it so that you don't mark it all up. But obviously this is pretty self-explanatory. You're just going to line up the holes and go for it. I would suggest not tightening them down all the way until you kind of get all of the screws in there. It'll just give you a little bit more flexibility when trying to find the holes further down the line. One crappy thing is these little tiny ass bolts are not magnetic, so you do have to be very, very careful not to drop them. So with that being said, I'm going to do this by myself so that I can focus and not talk to you guys. So we'll see you when it's all done. Okay guys, so after you bolt the top on, you're pretty much done. Not pretty much, you're done. It's all put in, very squared away. Again, make sure you tug on everything before you put the lid on to make sure that everything's sealed. But that's pretty much all for me right now. I'm going to end the video here. If you guys have any comments or questions, please let me know down below. You can hit me up on Instagram and DM me, and I get back to everybody that does that. Instagram will be right here on the screen. It'll also be linked down below like it is every other video. But that's going to be it, guys. So enjoy the sound clips of a before and after, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one.